Chicory, A Colorful Tale, covers a lot of ground. Any singular theme in Chicory could be an entire story just by itself. There's a lot in this game about what it means to be an artist, and personally that's not something that I am. I've never been good at art, and I've never really strived to be. There's a lot about mental illness, which is a topic that I'm nowhere near as well versed in as I feel the average person should be. There's a lot about imposter syndrome, and about depression. There's a lot about friendship, and responsibility, and hero worship, and getting to meet those heroes, and legacy, and there's just a lot to unpack here. The game is overflowing with magical, expressive scenes. Of course, there's the Song of the Wielders on top of the mountain, or the epic anime moment when Chicory appears in the final battle, or even when I made this damn turtle show up so I can get my platinum trophy. But if I'm being honest, the scene that resonated most with me is the one that made me really start to care about this game, and it's this one. The scene takes place at the beginning of Chapter 3, and is still pretty early in the game. Pizza, my main character was named Pizza, and it seems to be the canon name anyway, so we're just going to keep referring to them as Pizza. Pizza has defeated the being that was probably some ancient evil inside of the Wielder temple, and has returned to Luncheon to try to get more information out of Chicory about what's going on. They find Chicory outside of the Wielder tower. Without the magical brush that can bring color, Chicory has resumed to painting with just the standard black and white. She doesn't think it's going too well, and thinks that she may need some new ideas. Pizza casually mentions how cool it would be if they were painted by Chicory, and how great it would be if Chicory could use the brush to paint Pizza with color. Chicory agrees to paint Pizza, and after the portrait is complete, suggests that it's only fair if the roles are reversed. After Pizza completes a portrait of Chicory, the two share their portraits with each other. Then Chicory sends Pizza off to Gulp Swamp to continue fighting the corruption. And that's it, we just have a scene of two characters painting each other. But there's more going on in this scene than that overview truly gives context for. And some of it isn't even realized until completing much more of the game, and then looking back here. The brush wielders represent an unbroken line of responsibility. Every wielder trains the next. Each wielder's legacy is documented in the world, and each wielder bears their burden differently. Cardamom the Lion is the oldest wielder that we can find in the game, and he describes his time with the brush as painful. Moving from creating for just himself to drawing for everyone in the world just took all the love out of his work. He passed the brush on to Blackberry, who kept working for decades. She was very particular in choosing who her pupil would be. She plucked Chicory out of the Art Academy after a grueling day of intense assignments and eviscerating the class for mistakes that she found in their work. Because of this, Chicory was plagued by self-doubt her entire tenure with the brush. Though Pizza worships her for her work with color, Chicory was never confident in anything that she did, and never felt it was good enough. She would get frustrated with her own indecision and fall into depressive spirals. On one particularly bad day, she threw the brush away entirely, until it was picked up by Chicory's custodian. As someone who idolized Chicory, Pizza took the brush just to see what it would feel like. And to their surprise, when they finally got to speak with Chicory, they were told to keep the brush, as Chicory didn't want it anymore. Which brings us to this scene in Chapter 3. These aren't just portraits that Chicory and Pizza make for each other. They're thoughtful expressions of the good that only a true friend can see. Chicory sees herself as a failure, someone who disappointed Blackberry and couldn't accomplish the basic requirements of what it meant to be a brush wielder. But Pizza sees the best, most creative wielder of our age, someone whose expression and love can be seen in all of their work, someone who cares so much that they want everything they work on to be perfect. Although Chicory told Pizza to keep the brush, Pizza views themselves as unworthy. They aren't an artist. Anyone could have walked into the tower and taken the brush, and the only reason it's with Pizza at all is because they happen to be there. And now there's this corruption all over the land. How can Pizza possibly be good enough to keep it at bay? How can they possibly live up to the great Chicory? But Chicory sees a person who's facing great adversity, maybe greater than her own, and is doing way more than she ever did. When things got tough, she ran away from her problems, but Pizza is here trying. And not only that, they're succeeding by virtue of just doing their best at being them. These two characters extend so much love and generosity to each other, if only they could see it within themselves. So they paint, and they put on paper the person that they see before them. And if that was all the scene was, it would be enough and I would probably still love it. But now we have to devote the rest of this video to Lena Raine, the composer of Chicory. And I gotta say, every single scene in this game is better because of Lena Raine's work. I could go track by track, but I don't even have to do that because Lena took the time to write up a complete retrospective of the entire soundtrack. There is a link in the description. Chicory's soundtrack isn't just filled with hit after hit after hit. It tells a story just in its music. Lena takes different instruments and uses them to represent characters. Chicory is represented by the clarinet. It feels sophisticated, it feels intelligent, it feels expressive, it feels like Chicory. Meanwhile, pizza is represented by the recorder, which feels excitable or new. It's an instrument that we start elementary school kids learning on, so it also has this tone of amateur quality to it that really represents pizza well. Pizza's recorder is also in the same family of instruments as Chicory's clarinet, so the relationship between student and mentor is captured just in the instrument choice. It doesn't end there, because the musical motifs that represent the characters are intertwined too. This is Chicory's motif. And this is Pizza's. And we hear both of these motifs throughout the entire game. In fact, the first 3 songs feature both of these motifs heavily. Blank Canvas, which plays on the main menu, features Pizza's motif, as this is Pizza's story. But the first moments of the actual game is Pizza describing how great Chicory is. So of course we have Chicory's theme play here. Then as soon as we get the brush and make our way into the town of Luncheon, we're back to Pizza's theme. These themes carry on and evolve throughout the entire game, reaching all the way to the final battle. I don't have a background in music theory at all, but even I can notice and appreciate how these motifs function. I think Lena's words could explain this much better than I ever could. While Chicory's theme steps from me up to so, up a step and back down again, Pizza's theme steps from me up to so, then repeats so 3 more times before following the same pattern. Rhythmically, they also differ a little. Chicory's theme waits a quarter note, then begins on 2. Pizza's theme begins on a pickup to 1. To me, it felt like a comparison of elegance versus eagerness, like a kid running to catch up to someone they look up to and skipping a bit before matching their pace. It's something that defines Pizza as a character, but the use of repetition changes over the course of the story to mean new things as it goes. So both characters have an instrument and a motif to represent them, and both of those are intertwined with each other due to the 2 characters' relationship. Then what happens in this scene musically? Each character's instrument plays the other character's motif, but it's not right away. The song Just Like You, which plays in this scene, can be split into sections, and because this is a game that clearly cares about its soundtrack and was made in close relationship with the composer, the song continues to loop a given section and only moves on once we reach specific points in the scene. It starts with just ambiance. There's no soundtrack playing at all in the beginning. Then when Chicory is drawing her portrait of Pizza, the song starts. There's a gentle guitar from the track that represents the town of Luncheon, the location where the characters are, and Pizza's motif is played on Chicory's clarinet. When control switches to the player, and it's Pizza's turn to paint Chicory, the song swaps to Pizza's recorder playing Chicory's motif. And finally, at the height of the scene, the two instruments play together as the two characters unveil their work. And look, yes, I know my green rabbit isn't anything all that special. I got frustrated and I just ended it. But when I look back at this scene from the recording of my playthrough, I'm struck by just how colorless the world is up until this point. Screens and screens of nothing expressive at all. I think about how every time I was forced to paint in the game, I did the bare minimum to get by. But immediately after this scene, all of a sudden there's effort. The world gained color because of me. And not just on the objects required to progress, but on all sorts of environments just because I wanted to. Because I felt like I was obligated to. Things matter when we care about them, just due to the fact that we're caring about them. And for me, I cared about a scene where a dog and a rabbit paint each other to show how beautiful they see their friend.